Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Koopafantasy. I am, of course, Koopafantasy. This is my Week 12 Sit 'em Stardom video. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do a Week 11 Sit Start recap video like I usually do, although they're not very watched videos anyways. But I'm very busy this week. I actually just got off work and I have to go to school in about 2 hours, despite it being 7 a.m. So let's get right into it, guys. Week 12 Sit 'em Stardom for the 2012-2013 fantasy football season. Hopefully these picks help you out. All right, coming off the bye, start Eli Manning against Green Bay. I am banking that he is going to be much better coming out of the bye. Same with pretty much the rest of his team, Maud Bradshaw, Keem Nicks. I'm really hoping these guys really pick it up, and I'm thinking if you have Eli Manning and you've been playing other guys due to his lack of numbers, I think this is the week to put him back in your starting lineup. And then against Miami, I think Russell Wilson has a good chance for a good game, unfortunately, because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. But they tend to be pretty forgiving to opposing quarterbacks. And Russell Wilson can also run the ball to add some value that way. So I think against Miami, despite being on the road, he has a chance to have a pretty good fantasy day. Although nothing spectacular, just like 15, maybe 15 to 20 points, hopefully for you. And then San Fran, whoever they start, you gotta throw them in your lineup if you're desperate. They're going against New Orleans, whether it's Alex Smith or Colin Kaepernick. It's a beautiful matchup. Colin Kaepernick looked great in his NFL debut, which is the only reason we don't really have this confusion over who's going to be starting. But if you put in a claim for Kaepernick and you find that he's getting the start, and your quarterback is playing like crap lately, then you got to kind of think that Colin is your home run attempt. And then for the running backs, Jalen Parmeal, I'm not so sure that he's the greatest runner in the world, but he's going to get tons of touches, it looks like. He had 24 for 80 yards last week against a very good Texans defense. So it was a bit of a weird game, the way it played out. Jacksonville versus Houston, and it was high scoring, went to overtime. People thought Houston would just dominate them. But with Jacksonville finally kind of giving up on Rashad Jennings, it looks like Parmeal's got Parmalee, I don't know how you're going to say it. He's got a good chance to rush for quite a few yards against Tennessee, a much, much worse defense than Houston. And then Shane Vereen versus the Jets. Stephen Ridley is obviously the starter, but I could easily see them having like 30 rushes as a team here, 25, 30 rushes, meaning Vereen could get possibly upwards of 10 of those. Quite possibly a goal line carry, which is the main reason he's on here, because I think he just might get that goal line carry, give himself upwards of 10 points, maybe 10 to 12 points, something like that. And then Darren Sproles was held out last week, so this is a pretty risky pick, but I do believe he's ready to go for Week 12, that's for sure. He's going to be in the lineup. And it looks like a tough matchup going against San Fran, a very tough defense against the run, really against anything. But Darren Sproles is a good pass catcher, and that's kind of what you need against San Fran. Chris Ivory, Ingram, Pierre Thomas are just going to run into walls when they get the ball. So I think it's going to be Darren Sproles, screen passes, draw runs, things like that are going to be getting value for you. So I think Darren Sproles can actually be a sneaky start this week. And then Hakeem Nicks versus Green Bay. As with Eli, I'm really expecting these Giants to pick it up after the bye. So that's pretty much all I'm going to explain. Is that if you're looking for an elite wide receiver, here's one I am expecting to get back to the elite level soon. And then Ryan Broyles, Detroit wide receiver versus Houston, has a beautiful matchup. If you consider what Jacksonville did to Houston last week, there's no Titus Young due to disciplinary reasons. So Ryan Broyles catches a lot of things that come his way. And although he doesn't get many targets, it looks like that's about to go up with no Titus Young around. So look to start Ryan Broyles this week. And then Mohamed Sanu versus Oakland. Cincy has long needed a number 2 wide receiver. They've kind of filtered in Andrew Hawkins, Jermaine Gresham, Armin Binns caught a TD one week. But it looks like rookie receiver Mohamed Sanu is going to be that guy. He's caught touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Not a lot of targets, but still, the way Andy Dalton's throwing TDs and is playing hot as heck, you gotta like Mohamed Sanu's chances of getting you some value if you're desperate. And then Justin Blackmon versus Tennessee. Justin Blackmon versus Tennessee. After seeing what Justin Blackmon did to Houston Texans secondary last week, you have to think he can do it again. Do it again versus Tennessee, a much worse defense. So basically, Jacksonville exploded. Their offense exploded last week. Perhaps Chad Henne isn't as terrible as Dolphins fans like me thought after watching him for 2-3 years. And maybe Jacksonville can make it 2 straight games. They put up 30-plus points, meaning guys like Blackmon are probably going to have some value for you. So if you went out and grabbed Blackmon off the waiver wire, like many, many people did, it might actually be a good time to stick him in already. And then on to the sit-em side of the list, guys. Matt Shaw versus Detroit. He had a monster game last week. So basically the bottom line here is I don't think he gets to even half of what the points he put up. I think last week he was close to 40. This week he'll struggle to get 20. This time around, and then KC's Matt Castle versus Denver. Chiefs are one of the worst teams in the league at the moment, which means they have to throw quite a bit. But unfortunately for Matt Castle, Denver's been really good against the throw so far this season. They've only allowed, I think, about 6-7 passing touchdowns. So yeah, you really can't trust Matt Castle, and Dwayne Bowe is only a real threat to throw to. Isn't really that consistent week to week either. And after Bowe, who else does he even have to throw to? And then at Detroit, Mike Ellisher versus Houston. Reason I had to get this video out is there's so many players on these dang Thursday American Thanksgiving games. I am Canadian, guys. Nothing against your Thanksgiving. It's just that I kind of gapped out on it. Didn't realize there were so many games tomorrow. Didn't realize how many of my players on my list were going to be impacted by it. So Detroit running back Mike Ellisher versus Houston. This is an easy selection. Houston still yet to let a running back cross the goal line with their legs or after being handed the ball. So figure out if you want Mike LaShore this week, you're expecting maybe 10 points maximum. And then Reggie Bush for Seattle. After seeing Reggie Bush crap the bed last week against a very crappy Buffalo defense, who was a division rival, they should have tried to dominate. I'm not liking him at all this week against versus Seattle. And then Sean Green and Bilal Powell versus New England. Don't like either one of them. Bilal Powell seems to be the guy who he got both his TDs on third down carries. But he could still have some value this week, stealing from Sean Green. Plus, the New England defense is playing pretty good, especially the run defense. And seeing as how they will likely play with the lead, I don't think Sean Green and Powell will get too many carries in the first place. And then, keeping in the same game, Brandon Lloyd, I don't think he's going to have a lot of action here. A lot of people are talking about with Rob Gronkowski unavailable. Brandon Lloyd gets a bump, but I think you're just going to see more Edelman, more Aaron Hernandez if he's available, maybe more Danny Woodhead. I don't think Brandon Lloyd necessarily gets that bump, and I would be sitting him this week like I would have been most of the season. And then Pierre Garçon versus Dallas. There's so many fantasy owners that are eager for this guy to come back, and he's eager to come back and play as well. But I don't like his odds this weekend against Dallas. He couldn't do much last week against the Eagles. It's a situation I'm avoiding until I see him finally put up some decent yardage. And then Josh Gordon versus Pittsburgh. Josh Gordon has been very quiet since scoring that big 4 touchdowns over 3-week span he had. And I don't think he grabs number 5 against the Steelers this week. It's a terrible matchup for him. And then I believe my last one, Darius Heyward-Bey versus Cincinnati. The Bengals secondary has been surprisingly effective in 2012. They've only allowed the 49ers defense have less touchdowns thrown against them. That was terribly worded. So basically, the only secondary that has been better against the pass than secondary. Wow, I'm losing my English right now. 49ers, the best defense against the pass in terms of touchdowns thrown. Bengals are tied for number 2. That's the bottom line. They are surprisingly effective. Not liking Darius Heyward-Bey this week. Denarius Moore, I would still start. That guy is dynamic. But Darius Heyward-Bey, I would sit. Sorry for all the terrible English, guys. I'm trying to get this video out, so hopefully you guys can get it in time. It's going to take another half hour to get it on YouTube, unfortunately. So hopefully it helps you, these picks. Read my articles online, Koopafantasy.com, KOOPPA.fantasy.com. Follow me on Twitter, Blackie_Mike. That's BLACKIE_Mike. That's the easiest way you get in touch with me. Ask me questions, anything like that. I really appreciate it. And finally, like and subscribe to my video and my channel. And that's it, guys. Peace. It's been a rough morning.